In this video, I'm going to be comparing the Mean Girls franchise to the Hulk franchise. Now, what I mean here specifically when I say Hulk franchise are the standalone Hulk movies. I'm not talking about the Avengers movies that Hulk appears in. I'm talking about Ang Lee's Hulk from 2003, along with the Incredible Hulk, which is in the MCU. I'm going to be comparing those two movies to Mean Girls 2024 as well as the 2004 version. I ended up seeing the new Mean Girls movie in theaters earlier on this year. I went in blind. I had not seen the earlier film. I had not seen the musical. I just went because a friend of mine wanted to watch Mean Girls, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm interested in this. I've seen a few other things that are in the same ballpark. I've watched the High School Musical movies, also this TV show called Victorious that's on Paramount Plus. It's a sitcom about a girl going to this school for the arts. I enjoyed this new Mean Girls movie when I saw it in theaters. I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. After watching it, now having seen some videos talking about this new Mean Girls movie, I'm like, okay, yeah, it definitely has problems because this is an adaptation of a movie that came out back in 2004, so 20 years ago. It's incredibly similar to the 2004 movie. When you have a story like Mean Girls that is so clearly intended to comment on high school politics, the ways that teenage girls mistreat each other, gossip about each other, feels like if you're making a new movie 20 years after the last one came out, there's a lot of new dynamics you can explore, a lot of things that weren't present previously in high school that you can comment on now. But it feels like that didn't happen with this new version of Mean Girls. It's the same story, and considering that Tina Fey is credited for writing this new version, and she also wrote the 2004 movie, seems like there's a problem here because she graduated high school back in the 1980s. A lot has changed since then, so it seems like they really needed to bring some new blood in to actually come up with new ways to explore the kind of stuff they're wanting to explore with Mean Girls. So now thinking about more, I'm like, okay, yeah, this new version of Mean Girls definitely could have been better for sure. It's enjoyable, I would say. I still think it's fun, but certainly not fantastic. I haven't seen the 2004 version of Mean Girls, so I've only seen one of the movies as of right now. When it comes to the Hulk franchise, I have seen both Incredible Hulk as well as Ang Lee's Hulk. I think that Incredible Hulk is definitely better than Ang Lee's Hulk. But when we look at highest Rotten Tomatoes score for each franchise, in the case of Hulk, highest score is only 67% for the Incredible Hulk. Mean Girls, the highest score is 84% for the 2004 version. So Mean Girls wins here. And then when you look at lowest score for each franchise, in the case of Mean Girls, this new movie that came out earlier on this year only has a 69%. In the case of the Hulk franchise, the 2003 movie only has a 63%. So Mean Girls wins this round. And then when you look at average score, Mean Girls is an average of 76, whereas the Hulk franchise is an average of 65. So Mean Girls wins here. Then when you look at gap between lowest and highest score, in the case of Mean Girls, you have a gap of 15. When it comes to the Hulk franchise, only a gap of 4, which is pretty small. So Hulk wins this round, but because Mean Girls already won 3 of the rounds, it's going to win this debate regardless of my personal opinion. And actually, in this case, I would say that when it comes to the Hulk franchise, I think that Ang Lee has talent as a director. I mean, what he did with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon shows that he's not a bad director, but I don't think he was the right pick for a Hulk movie. It seems like he wanted to make this more artistic movie that's commenting on things. I certainly respect that's what he wanted to do, but does it work? No, I don't think it really does. I mean, The Incredible Hulk is a good movie that tends to get overly criticized just because it doesn't feel like it's part of the MCU. Okay, sure, it feels like the black sheep, but I don't think that makes the movie bad. I think a lot of times people fail to give the movie the credit it deserves for the things it does right, and they just focus exclusively on the fact that it feels different from the rest of the MCU. If you actually look at the movie on its own terms, if you look at the quality of the movie and don't just focus on how much it connects to the franchise, I think it's a solid, good movie. Not like the best MCU film, but good. Not a disaster. Now, which franchise do I prefer? I would say that I think that Mean Girls is actually the one I would choose, because as much as the new movie is not as good, I think it's not as big of a letdown, frankly, as Ang Lee's Hulk is. Let's talk about that movie now more. I would say that what Ang Lee tried to do with making this movie look like a comic book with actual comic panels being in the movie is a commendable thing to try to do. It certainly stands out, but is it actually good? No, I wouldn't say that. It's pretty distracting, frankly. It's just annoying. And also, I think this version spends too much time on the origin. It doesn't get quickly enough to Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk. At the end of the day, all that really matters, honestly, is just that Bruce Banner's experimenting on things. There's an accident involved. There's an accident that happens. Gamma radiation is involved, and that leads to Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk. That's what's really important. So spending so much time on the origin is just boring, frankly. You're like, come on, let's get already to Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk. Why are we spending so much time on the science mumbo jumbo? It's really not actually important. And then while there are fun moments of action in this movie, I think overall there's just not enough action. We don't actually want to see Hulk fighting dogs. The final battle is not really very good or very interesting because it's just Hulk fighting a cloud. That's really what it turns into. So it's like, okay, this isn't very compelling. And I think that visually speaking, outside of the moments where there are the comic panels, the movie just looks kind of dull, to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to choose the Mean Girls franchise because I do like this kind of story, and seems like both movies are at least fun. With the Hulk franchise, I mean, I like Marvel, obviously, and I like the character of the Hulk, but you just have one of these movies that's a bigger letdown, to be honest. That'll wrap things up.